I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. President Biden is rejecting concerns from members of his own party, refusing to back out of the November election. President Biden is set to meet with a group of Democratic governors at the White House Wednesday night. This after the president and Vice President Kamala Harris joined a call with DNC leadership Wednesday to calm fears and shore up tensions, all following what Biden admits was a bad debate performance. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump is inching closer to announcing his running mate. The short list includes Florida Senator Marco Rubio, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, and North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. Hurricane Beryl is roaring by Jamaica after killing at least 6 people and causing significant damage in the southeast Caribbean. That number could go up. The storm expected to weaken in the next few days. Beryl is now the earliest storm to develop into a Category 5 in the Atlantic hurricane season. Northern California, that's forced at least 13,000 people to evacuate. The Thompson fire broke out Tuesday about 70 miles north of Sacramento before consuming nearly 5 square miles and threatening the city of Oroville. The governor's office says federal funding has been approved to help fighting firefighter efforts. Those are your headlines. Now, here's your weather on the ones.
Hey everybody, I'm meteorologist Nate Harrington. Shower and storm chances continue across the Midwest, and another big story, the heat and humidity continuing to build in the south and up the west coast. Some of the heat advisories now in the Pacific Northwest. So it's the same old song and dance for us as we head through the July 4th holiday. Storms, flooding, and record heat. Dangerous heat wave will continue through the end of the week and into the weekend. Storms will be possible as well. And we're watching Beryl. Could it impact the U.S.? We'll let you know in your forecast coming up.
Is President Biden considering stepping down?
Absolutely not. And you heard, I believe, directly from the campaign as well.
The White House press secretary says President Biden is standing strong, not thinking of dropping out of the race as he faces rising concerns Wednesday from his own party. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sharon Tazwell. Wednesday, President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris made a surprise appearance on a Democratic National Committee call in an effort to address party tensions and questions following his debate performance. Spectrum's national political correspondent Evan Kozloff is following the fast-moving details.
President Joe Biden's decision to hold this meeting with prominent Democratic governors comes after many of those governors held a phone call earlier in the week to express concerns with President Biden's debate performance last Thursday and his ability to beat former President Trump in November's election. His concerns. President Joe Biden has been working the phones to shore up support.
We finally beat Medicare.
Nearly a week after his poor debate performance against Donald Trump, when he struggled to push back against Trump's attacks.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence.
The White House confirming that Biden spoke with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Wednesday, after talking with House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries on Tuesday.
There's nothing.
President Biden is trying to prevent a trickle of Democrats seeking to replace him atop the party's ticket from becoming a flood. On Wednesday, Representative Raul Grijalva of Arizona became the second sitting Democratic lawmaker to call for Biden to drop out, following Texas Democrat Lloyd Doggett on Tuesday.
My statement is mine and not anyone else's, but I think there are a number of my colleagues who share the concern I voiced.
The next few days could be make or break for the president. After his meeting with the governors, he'll sit down Friday for an extended interview with ABC News before hitting the campaign's every move and comment sure to be closely watched. The New York Times reported on Wednesday that Biden told a key ally that his candidacy may be unsavable if he can't lift his poll numbers and sell the public on his fitness for office.
The president telling people he's evaluating the
Absolutely
race.
false. That is absolutely false.
In a tense White House briefing, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre pushing back on the reporting, saying that the president has no plans to drop out.
The president responded directly when asked about this question because we said that we would, and the president said it is absolutely false.
Along with his vice president, Kamala Harris, President Biden addressed their campaign in an all-staff call on Wednesday, a source saying that President Biden told them, "I'm in this race to the end, and we're going to win, because when Democrats unite, we will always win."
And Evan Kozlov joins us now. Evan, we're keeping an eye on this meeting with the governors. Who's there and why is this such an important meeting?
Right. Well, the press secretary says that there's going to be 20 plus governors either attending here in person at the White House or virtually. And that includes some high profile names, people like Gavin Newsom from California, Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan. Those are two notable names because them, along with Vice President Kamala Harris, have been floated as possible replacements for Biden if he were to bow out of the race. So obviously this is going to be a crucial meeting for President Biden as he tries to project both competence and confidence to those governors. Sharon?
All right, Evan Kozlov reporting from the White House. Thanks. Hurricane Beryl is looming over Jamaica, bringing what meteorologists describe as life-threatening winds and storm surge to the island. It is the first hurricane to hit the popular tourist destination in 12 years. Already, local officials say 7 people are dead because of the storm. Spectrum News anchor Carla Redditt is following the path of the storm and the trail of devastation it's leaving behind.
Hurricane Beryl looks like through the lens of a satellite as it roars through the Caribbean. It first slammed ashore in Grenada with maximum sustained winds of 145 miles per hour Monday. Those same life-threatening conditions now punishing the island of Jamaica. Forecasters put the center of the storm just south of the island Wednesday afternoon, with powerful bands of wind and storm surge possible over its entire eastern half. Jamaica's prime minister took to social media Wednesday, urging everyone in high-risk impact areas to evacuate, with or without official notice.
If you live in a low-lying area, or if you live on the banks of a river or a gully, I implore you to evacuate to a shelter or to safer ground.
U.S.-based disaster relief efforts are underway, with organizations like World Central Kitchen and Global Empowerment Mission packing and preparing supplies for shipment. The itinerary for some cruise ship passengers.
Cruise director told us that after we were done with Costa Maya, they're going to take us north as fast as they can to get us out of the track of the hurricane.
A path that the National Hurricane Center is tracking into northeastern Mexico between now and Sunday, with a tightly wound center between 60 and 70%, making a U.S. landfall in some degree into southern Texas early next week possible. Carla Redditt, Spectrum News.
President Biden posthumously honors 2 Civil War soldiers with the nation's highest military decoration for their efforts more than 160 years ago. Spectrum's Ruben Jones joins us now from outside the White House. And Ruben, who were these 2 heroes and what can you tell us about the mission they took part in?
Well, Sharon, these Medal of Honor recipient ceremonies always so unique and interesting. And for this one, you have to go back to 1863 in what's known as the soldiers, Army soldiers Philip Shadrick and Private George Wilson. Both privates took part in this what's known as Great Locomotive Chase, where it was one of the earliest operations in the U.S. Army where Union soldiers dressed as civilians and they infiltrated the Confederacy, hijacked a train in Georgia and drove it north for 87 miles, destroying enemy infrastructure along the way. This ending just outside of Chattanooga. They were eventually hung for what they did by the Confederacy, but so critical in the Civil War. And we heard President Joe Biden talk about the impact of these 2 soldiers earlier.
Ladies and gentlemen, till the very end, George and Philip believed in the United States of America, the only nation on earth founded on an idea.
And look, Sharon, this was the Medal of Honor. The first recipient that got this was actually part of the Great Locomotive Chase. So this honored by this ceremony before. And look, it's been obviously more than 150 years since the Civil War, but these are still issues our country grapples with today, issues over race, presidential power, and constitutional rights. So a moment in history that still stands in our current time today. Sharon?
Yeah, very much so. All right, Ruben Jones reporting from the White House. Thanks. Housing crisis help. A nationwide shortage is making the dream of home ownership unattainable for millions. How one city is hoping to make home ownership more equitable. That's coming up on Spectrum News.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation, with balanced reporting, providing reach 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
At Spectrum, we know that internet is a vital tool to help you fulfill your dreams.
My dream is to become a video game developer.
My dream is to get my online college degree. That's why Spectrum has affordable solutions to keep you connected. At Spectrum, we are committed to delivering reliable, affordable internet and unlimited mobile to keep you connected to what matters most to you.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son that I needed to come back to school, I felt accomplished. It made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Big stories across the nation for today and really all week long has been the extreme heat. Highs Wednesday continue to trend in that direction. The same spots that have seen the heat continue this week saw it on Wednesday, the day before the 4th of July. Temperatures in the low to mid 90s. How about Dallas checking in at 99 degrees? The Pacific Northwest getting in on some of those heat related issues for the 4th of July. But today, pretty pleasant. Seattle at 75, Portland 83. That will be a big time difference come Thursday, Friday, and for the weekend ahead. And you're starting to see the heat build across the East Coast as well, from the Carolinas through the Mid-Atlantic states and up into the north and east. How about Columbus at 90? The same temperature Atlanta is for today. As we continue on through to, Wednesday night into early for your 4th of July, showers and storms will continue across the Midwest and more storms moving through the Ohio River Valley up into the upper Midwest by Thursday afternoon. So absolutely fantastic. It's these specific areas that have seen the rain chances, the storms throughout the week. Again, you're going to see them on Thursday. By Thursday night, fireworks time from, say, northern Texas into Oklahoma, Missouri, up toward the upper Midwest, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Storms will be ongoing, and late Thursday into early Friday, this big area of low pressure swings a cold front through. And then folks across the eastern side of the country will see some storms on Friday. But the 4th of July severe weather risk, the same areas we've been talking about, the Midwest, the upper Midwest, and even the Mid-Atlantic seeing some storm chances. Thursday, highs for the 4th of July, a scorcher from the southern plains, the Gulf Coast states. How about 92 in Portland, Oregon? It's going to be hot through the West Coast and the upper Midwest. For them, a little bit of a cool down of sorts. But we are heating things up in the tropics, Beryl, and another area that we're watching closely. But how the impact...
If you're just joining us, here's what you need to know. President Biden vows to stay in the running for re-election despite growing pressure from some Democrats to drop out. In a meeting with White House staffers, Biden told them no one is pushing him out. Hurricane Beryl is now impacting Jamaica as islanders make preparations. The Category 4 storm has already caused destruction to parts of the Southeast Caribbean, killing at least 6 people. Firefighters are battling a growing wildfire in Northern California that has forced at least 13,000 people to evacuate. Authorities say the fire scorched more than 3,000 acres amid extreme heat. And that's what you need to know this evening. The U.S. has a shortage of affordable and available homes. Now, Florida is spending more than $80 navigates the housing crisis. Spectrum's Jeff Butera reports on the obstacles for would-be homebuyers and some solutions.
Yeah, we're Let's just start with the stereotype Tatiana Morales despises.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that a lot.
It goes something like this. Young people like her, single, late 20s, working, can't afford to buy a house because they spend all their money on Starbucks coffee and avocado toast.
I can't stand that stereotype because they're assuming that it's also like lazy, entitled rich people and not people like me that are working class children of immigrants that are working very, very hard to build generational wealth. Also, I don't even like avocado toast.
Instead, she believes it's a bigger money barrier. Even with a decent job, she can't afford to buy a house near work, nor can she save enough money while renting to get much closer over time.
10 years later, I am no closer to buying a house than I was 10 years ago. In Florida, and this economy, heartbreaking. And in that, I ended up spending a lot of time researching and talking to urban planners and people just in the field of housing about why is everything so bad.
What she says she found were systemic issues that made home ownership tougher, especially for people of color like her. Issues going back decades.
And it was very clear that blacks were just not welcome to live there.
Tampa Bay historian Rodney Kite Powell told me there was a time when racial deed restrictions were legal, a document that said you can't ever sell this property to a black person.
You will see it written explicitly. No property within this subdivision is to be sold to people of African descent.
Then, when the U.S. Supreme Court outlawed that, you had this thing called redlining. Black neighborhoods deemed too risky for banks to lend money to people wanting to buy houses there.
Essentially, families to buy because they couldn't get the financing to do so.
Exactly.
Plus, zoning regulations were often designed to keep African Americans in so-called black neighborhoods, unless growth needed to move them out. Like when the Crosstown Expressway got built and cut right through the black neighborhood of Dobyville.
So you had a considerable amount of demolition of homes going through the Dobyville neighborhood.
Our city decided that an expressway to bring in suburbanites from other places was a higher priority than housing the people that live there.
It's a history that not just Tatiana and Rodney acknowledge. No, back in 2021, Hillsborough County outlined it in its non-discrimination plan as the county plotted a more equitable future. But Tatiana believes remnants of the inequity, especially in zoning, are still here. She'll tell you it's why South Tampa looks one way and Dobyville looks another. But in houses in a city she can't afford.
Yeah, I would like to have that stakeholder where I put ground in, I'm a part of the city, but unless I'm very, very, very wealthy, and as I know with Dathan, that's not really possible.
And she promises it's not because of coffee and toast. Jeff Butera, Spectrum News.
Coming up on Spectrum News, batting for the Miracle League, how the team is giving athletes with disabilities a chance to hit a home run.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference in the community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
While the U.S. is baking in heat and storms, looking at the tropics, and Beryl, of course, top of mind for folks in the Caribbean. Monday, Tuesday, long days for the Lesser Antilles, the islands across the Caribbean, devastated by a major hurricane, the earliest Cat 5 on record, and now Jamaica's turn on Wednesday. This storm still a Category 4. It looks a whole lot different than it did earlier in its lifespan. Monday and Tuesday, it was a prototypical looking major hurricane. The islands of Hispaniola, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, and parts of Cuba disrupting the flow, and a little bit of wind shear too has made the structure look a little bit different from Beryl, but it is still a powerful hurricane impacting Jamaica on Wednesday, and then the rest of the Caribbean and in the Gulf of Mexico Thursday, Friday, and for the weekend ahead. And that's when the questions appear. So on Wednesday, move through Jamaica. Then, how about the Cayman Islands moving closer to the Yucatan Peninsula by Thursday night and into Friday? Still a Category 2 storm in this part of the world can do a whole lot of damage. And by the way, the little island of Cozumel, Cancun they're in for a pretty rough ride late Thursday, early on Friday. Then it moves into the Gulf of Mexico, regenerates as a Category 1 storm after weakening. And this is where the question marks start. Notice the cone into Mexico, or if it recurves a little bit more, folks across the central and southern portions of the Texas Gulf Coast could be in for a very wet and also windy time on Monday. We'll have to see where the models take it, but I think everyone from Texas through Louisiana probably need to be watching for this. And the one thing that could save them is this big dome of high pressure. If this stays intact with all the heat down in the south, that may save Texas and Louisiana from getting Beryl's impacts. Very small little storm chances on Friday across parts of the Ohio River Valley. Other than that, out like a sore thumb. Raleigh at 100 degrees, hotter than Atlanta, hotter than Dallas. Folks in the upper Midwest and Midwest get a little bit of break from the heat, but Boise, Idaho at 97 degrees. That's Friday. Saturday, more heat and humidity. How about Boise at 99? Good news, a little bit of a change in the pattern, but we're going to have to deal with sweltering temperatures and lots of storms through the holiday weekend.
LeBron James has reportedly signed on for another 2 years with the Los Angeles Lakers. ESPN reports the deal is worth $104 million. That means the four-time NBA champion and his son Bronny James, who was selected in the 2024 draft by the Lakers, will have the chance to play alongside each other. They would become the first father-son duo to play on the same team in the league. Sports screams summer like baseball. From the majors to little leagues, players are getting in their time at bat. Well, including one group in Ohio that's having a special impact on the players and community. Marilee Melendez explains in this week's Beyond the Sport.
It's no secret, sports bring people together and in many ways act as a unifier for all walks of life. That's the case for a unique baseball league in Central Ohio. In this week's Beyond the Sport, I'll introduce you to an up-and-coming pitcher whose style of play is helping even his opponents play their best ball.
America's favorite pastime only requires a few essentials: a bat, a ball, a glove, oh, and bubble gum, of course. For Joe Schroeder, it also includes a warm-up game of catch between his friend Brian and his dad playing together.
How long has it been for Brian to play, Dad?
The answer is 10 years, the same amount of time Joe has been participating in Miracle League of Central Ohio, a baseball league for adults with disabilities. Joe is the pitcher.
Sometimes I'll do fastballs, I'll do sliders.
But his goal isn't to strike out his opponents.
Ooh!
Joe knows that's not what this is about, and he does his best to try and help the other players hit the ball. And I was talking to him about it. I said, why do you do that? And he said, because I want them to have fun too. And I'm really proud of that.
He's also proud of what this organization stands for and encourages others to come out and watch a game.
It will remind you of what sports is really supposed to be about. The thrill and the joy of competing. It's about just going out there and having a good time and doing the best.
No, his best is hitting it out of the park. And cheering on his teammates.
Come on, Brian.
Line drive down the third baseline. Now batting for the Athletics, Liam Woohoo Maloney.
Night League organizer and PA announcer Adam Beatrice says that kind of camaraderie is what it's all about, regardless of your disability.
It's, bringing a community together of people who just happen to like baseball or, players who want to play and common interests and just, come out and have fun for an hour, 2 hours.
And a lot of fun they're having.
Field opened in Georgia in 2000, and now 24 years later, there are over 350 Miracle League organizations all across the country. For Spectrum News, I'm Mary Lee Melendez.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Thanks for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters. Streaming live on your smart TV and connected devices, plus on the Spectrum News mobile app, keeping you informed and in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News Plus, local stories connecting communities. Exclusively for Spectrum customers. Now available on your favorite devices.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars. Really tall. Structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands? Yes. You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never gonna let you